welcome to another Business Ready for Sale podcast. This is John Denton here with another episode, and today we're going to be talking about know your numbers. One of the things that I regularly beat business owners up about is knowing their numbers from two aspects. One, if you're going to sell your business, then you need to have your numbers, your financials, clean and up to date and well structured so that they can be understood. And then there's the other numbers in the business, the non-financial numbers, which a business owner needs to know as well to make good decisions. So it's a question of garbage in, garbage out, or if you put good data in, then you'll get good data out, and it makes it a lot easier to A, make good decisions in your business, but also B, to sell your business. And a key part to getting this right is having a good bookkeeper on board. And I've come across a lot of bookkeepers over my time as a business broker and helping business owners. And but now I found a really good one, a lady called Helen Kelly, who's going to introduce herself in a moment. She was referred to me by one of my clients in my Business Owners Taking Action mentoring group. And Helen has since joined up and got rave reviews from people that she's been working with and helping. And I love Helen's pragmatic, down-to-earth, no BS approach to things. So I can see Helen smiling. So good morning, Helen.
Good morning, John.
And welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you.
So Helen, give us a quick little bit about your background and how you came to be doing what you're doing.
Okay, well, I started in the accounting business when I was working for accounting tax agent business back in 2009, I believe. Then I went out and branched on my own with another colleague. We formed a tax and accounting services business back in 2011. That didn't work out too well. So formed my own bookkeeping BAS agent service back in 2013. I also work with a registered tax agent accountant, so I'm able to offer right from the start to the end products for business. So they should know their numbers. The
Fantastic.
whole stream.
Yeah, just for any non-Australian listeners, BAS is business activity statement. So it's part of the goods and services tax work that business owners have to collect, a tax that business owners collect for the government.
That's correct.
So so fantastic. That's really good. So a lot of really, really good background there. And you're with me on the know your numbers thing with business owners. So, why is it important to know your numbers and get them right, Helen?
Well, it enables you to plan for cash flow purposes. Like, let's say if you need new assets for your business, new vehicle, employing staff, you need to know your numbers, whether, okay, can I manage that? Do I need to go for a loan for the bank? So you need your numbers up to date currently. And this is achievable if it's done correctly through cloud software.
Yeah. And again, you can make good decisions in your business if you know your numbers. And absolutely right about affording to employ people. So you've got to do your cash flow and understand all that. Now, one of the things that I think there's no excuse for business owners these days because there's so many good tools around. But I don't know about you, but I still see some business owners who want to use spreadsheets. Is that something you come across?
Yes, I do, because they don't see the value of cloud software. So they go, I quite often get, well, my business is small, I can do it on spreadsheet. So I actually come across that quite often and I go, okay then, so how do you keep up-to-date records? Can you pull up a profit and loss report daily if you feel the urge? And they go, oh, well, we don't need to. So I actually tell them it takes me more time to go through their spreadsheets than it would if we put them on cloud software. So I actually turn their head around from thinking, what is your time worth? Because people's mindsets seem to be on, well, the cost of the software is like, let's say $50 times 12 equals this. And I go, okay, well, how about what's your time worth? So would you like to sit down for 4 days a month, or would you like to just be able to do 15, 20 minutes a day?
Yeah.
So that's how I change it. Know your numbers. So spreadsheets are gone out the window as far as I'm concerned now.
Yeah, it's that reluctance to spend that bit of money. You know, if they've been in business a while, they were probably paying, once off for their accounting software and then paying for the occasional updates. So when they see they've got to pay $50 a month or whatever it is a month, it's like, oh, I don't want to go down that route. But just from an accuracy and an ease point of view, you should change, shouldn't you?
Well, you should. And like, as far as I'm concerned, if you're looking along going that path, just contact a bookkeeper, a registered BAS agent. So it's actually set up correctly for your business. I see too many people set it up themselves without the understanding, and they watch YouTubes and everything like that. YouTubes are brilliant videos for a platform of learning. Nothing beats knowledge base. Contact a person who's got full knowledge base to be able to set up your business so it can operate with ease. Just because professionals make it look easy doesn't mean in the background it is. It looks easy because we've done our job to train you.
Yeah.
Basically.
And when you talk about setting up, you're talking about chart of accounts and things like that?
Yeah. So set up the chart of accounts to suit that business. A lot of times I see some accounts set up because it's easy to import a standard set of accounts, but that doesn't customise for everyone. It should be customised for your business. Absolutely. And if it grows, it can be other accounts can be added to suit the client so they understand what that cost base or income base is. So you have to customise it for the client to understand. That's how I believe.
Yeah, by chart of accounts, we mean the codes that you enter data against. So like different expenses and different income streams and things like that, just in case there's anyone on the listening that doesn't understand chart of accounts.
Well, yeah, so we set up the chart of accounts. So therefore, when you want to generate a report, so the profit and loss report, all the items like expenses will show up in a profit and loss report correctly.
Yeah.
So, yes.
And when a buyer's looking to buy your business, they want to see all that and they want to be able to understand it. So this is why it's important to set it up from day one. Yes. And, I recommend, there's quite a few business owners I recommend get someone like yourself in to have a look at their chart of accounts, because they've probably been using it for years and it's got out of date and got messy, or it's been set up by the accountant to suit the way that they want to report to the tax office, which is not necessarily helpful for the way the business owner wants to run the business.
Exactly. I see quite a few businesses set up. They believe they need a different income account for each inventory item that they sell. This just adds confusion. It's not required. If software is set up correctly, we can set up tracking so you can actually generate reports for the different income and expenses in relation to inventory items.
Yeah, that's a really big point, because, looking at businesses for sale and doing an appraisal on businesses for sale, there's a couple of things that can happen. One, they can be turning over $5 million and all they've got on the accounts is income. and yet they do a whole range of different products and sometimes services and things, but they haven't broken it down at all. Everything just goes in as income, which is not helpful to the buyer. And then, as you say, there's the opposite, where they've broken it down so much that it just becomes totally confusing. So, but it is important, as you say, to know for different items that are being sold or different services, what the costs are, the cost of goods sold or the costs to provide that particular product. So you're saying it can be broken down in the accounts, but not set up in a way to be confusing.
So you know, like now there's a lot of a company might have 2 or 3 businesses under one ABN. So if you set up tracking per business, you should be able to pull up reports to see how that business is tracking. So there's things software can do now that makes it easier instead of spreadsheets.
Provided the data is put in correctly in the first place. Totally.
So a big service I offer is training. I actually tell my clients we're going to be best friends for the first 3 months of setting up a new data file. And that's okay. That's okay, because then I might just get contacted at the end of each quarter just to confirm that they're on track.
Yeah.
And, you know, like I had one just the other day. They actually were doing it manually in a book. Yeah, and she actually did a great job with the knowledge base she had, but her accountant didn't offer a different avenues for their business because the business was growing. And anyway, so we put her on Xero. I trained her. Now she actually got to the stage for this quarter that she actually followed all the templates I'd set up for her, published the reports, and I just spent 1 hour just confirming all that and making her mind at ease to confirm all good, perfect. And that's brilliant. My job's done. I just like to be an overseer of the business. The business owners need to take ownership of their records.
That's fantastic. It's because I've seen a lot of bookkeepers, particularly in some bigger businesses, but no, it's probably in all businesses. There's been occasions where the bookkeeper keeps everything to themselves in order to protect their job. So, you know, they try to make themselves indispensable by doing things and keeping it from the owner so that only they can do it. It sounds crazy, but trust me, I've seen it so many times.
Yeah, well, the mentality behind that is that because I still know bookkeepers, BAS agents that do it to this day, and they actually believe they're going to lose an income stream from that. And they say, well, we don't want the clients to muck up the records. My answer to those bookkeepers is, well, why don't you train your clients so they don't? And they go, well, no, I don't want them in the records because we'll lose income stream. And I go, well, don't you see that if you actually train that client, you can take on 5 more? But their mentality is not that. So that's part of business planning, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's changing the mindset, I think, because bookkeepers were known as just data entry. You enter the data and all that. In this day and age, bookkeepers it's a little bit more now because I actually believe we're small business setup. We should be one of your first point of calls. Like, people believe that it's accountants that you go and see when you're setting up a business. And that's good. At least they've taken that step. But it would be good if accountants would say, yep, thanks for touching base. We've set you up and had a discussion about your setup and what sort of would you like to be sole trader company trust. Brilliant. But now here's an introduction to a bookkeeper registered BAS agent that will actually be there holding your hand and guiding you until we see you end a year. So if the two industries can work together, you've got a perfect solution for that business owner, haven't you? They're set up correctly. They've got someone who is going to be in the background for them. And then end of year is done perfectly. So,
yeah, I mean, some business owners would argue, well, now with everything being automated through the cloud and things like that, do I really need a bookkeeper? Can't the accountant just deal with it?
Well, my answer to that is you still need a bookkeeper who actually sees different things in the records than an accountant does. I've known accountants that actually just take the profit and loss and balance sheet. They don't look at if accounts are reconciled correctly. They don't look at that. They just take your records, and it might take them 3 or 4 hours to do the records, but they're still going to charge you about $2,000 for a company or something like that. They haven't got attention to detail because their time for that. You know, like their mindset is completely different to someone who is a bookkeeper and seeing clients or answering calls day to day in the running of their business. Like, you know, it's accountants at end of year, or if I want to change my business structure, or, you know, fringe benefits, or shall I buy a new car? Like accountants.
Yeah, they look after the compliance and obligations with the tax office.
Yeah.
But not get involved in the day-to-day running of the business or understanding the business in that level of detail.
No, and a lot of accountants, tax agents, they don't want to do that. They don't enjoy the day-to-day running of the bookkeeping side of things. They really don't. To them, it's like, oh, yuck! Like I don't want to do that.
Yeah, so you make the accountant's life easier as well.
Totally. But because of now compliance with STP and payroll, single touch payroll, so people who have employees, it's more and more important now to make sure you have the software for this, because it's a requirement now that pay runs are filed, 2 days after the pay run, like when the employees are paid. So they have to be filed to the ATO. Yeah,
but then you've got all the superannuation contributions and all of that as well to make and reconcile.
Yeah, so we have to keep on top of all that too, the super obligations. And so we're basically there making sure the business owners know their obligations, how to run it correctly on a day-to-day or weekly or quarterly, just to keep them in line.
Yeah.
Give them a slap.
Yeah, well, there's a few that I wish you'd been and given a slap to earlier than when they come to me.
Yeah.
You raised the point as well about the accountants and legal structures setting up the entity that's doing the business. Again, that's a critical one to go to a good accountant who knows all that sort of thing. And not to overcomplicate it. I've was aware of a business a few years back now that was selling for $5 million and really, really good business, but it all fell through when it came to due diligence because the owner of the business with his accountant had set up such a complicated structure of unit trusts and different entities passing money between one entity and another. And it was so complicated that the buyer's accountant doing due diligence couldn't understand it. So they couldn't follow the money and the flow and they walked away. So, you know, quite often a business owner engages an accountant to minimize their tax. And some of the ways that accountants come up to do that are very creative. But when it comes to selling the business, it backfires a little bit, or can do. Not every time, but it can do.
Yeah, no, you're totally correct. and just how to understand. Like, I've seen so many businesses set up, like companies, trusts, like accountants have set up, and to be honest, the business owners have no idea how they're trading. So that's another thing that I have to sit down and explain. And because my knowledge base is a lot higher than probably a standard bookkeeper, because of my qualifications plus experience working in the industry for 10 years with accountants and preparing tax returns under an accountant, tax agent, I'm able to guide them of different rules and structures of, like why they're set up like that, or why are you set up like that? Because they have no idea. They've been set up as they've got a company and then they've got a trust. And I said, why are you set up like that? I don't know. The accountant said unnecessary money spent on setup, and it doesn't work for them. So that's a lot of money wasted. It's
a lot of, quite often, because circumstances change and the government changes the rules, then some of these structures become far less effective anyway. Trusts are much less desirable these days than they were 20 years ago.
Yeah, they are. Like the company, the tax rate has gone right down. So company structure is probably a better format at the moment, but it depends. But there's very strict rules, and when clients are coming off from being a sole trader to a company, it's a little difficult for them to understand that it's not their money. But the company's mine. Yeah, but it's not your money. It's a company. So little things like that I have to train them. But that's okay. They get it in the end. It's just taking that time to go deeper to explain. And I think the biggest thing is read your clients, as in read when they don't understand. Stop and open your ears. And I think that's the biggest thing in my industry. There's not too much of they all need to stop and look at face to face their client and open their ears to see if that client is understanding it.
Yeah, and you make a good point. Some business owners don't understand the difference between taking drawings or paying themselves a wage through the business or through the trust, and they get very confused about that, which again causes confusion when it comes to selling the business.
It does. Yeah.
And with the legal structure as well, I think I've experienced accountants that default to the same answer every time without talking to the business owner to find out what their plans are for the business.
Totally.
If they're planning to bring on partners down the track, or get investors in and things like that, then it's a different structure to if you're just setting it up for yourself to sell it in 10 or 20 years time or 3 years time. I'm not sure that we're not here to bag accountants. I know a lot of really, really good accountants.
Yeah.
And I know you do too, Helen. So
yeah, I do. And I think that's a really important part. Like, bookkeepers / BAS agents should work closely with the accountants, because it's for the client. And I think a lot of people sometimes forget that it's for the client. You can't get personal, and you might not like that accountant. You need to leave that way on the back bench, because it's not about you, it's about your client. And I think this is where an error is made from some in my industry. They have to remember it's not about them, it's about their client, and do the best for your client. And you can't put clients into the same bucket, because they're like children. Every single one is different, and you have to tweak.
Okay.
Every single one is different.
I'll remember that. Business owners are like children.
Yes. Yes.
It's funny, I had a manager work for me some years ago, and he had quite a few employees that he was looking after, and he said being a parent is the best training for looking after employees, because it's like having a whole bunch of kids to look after.
Yes.
But yeah.
Yes.
One of the other big things that I beat up on business owners about, particularly when they're, just every day running of the business, but particularly when they're coming to sell a business as well, is having really good systems and checklists in place. And I think on the financial side, that would be critical as well, wouldn't it?
Oh, definitely. Because we can't miss. Yeah, there's items we can't miss due to compliance. So I've actually got checklist after checklist for each client of what I need to do for each client. So I've got a BAS checklist, I've got a super checklist, I've got reconciling checklist, and because I now have staff, and so I needed to get that information out of my head to put systems in place before my business grew. So that's like anything. You have to make sure you've got the good systems, checklists, so therefore if you're not around, someone can actually have a look at those checklists and follow, so your business can still operate.
Absolutely.
So yes, I've got it set up. I'm currently using To Do, Microsoft product, and that seems to be working really good because I can set up repeating jobs and tasks.
Yep.
So therefore things aren't slipped under, they don't fall under the carpet, I also use Google Sheets, so I still use that little system and colour code and, little notes. So I've got a few things going on, but they all seem to be working, so items don't get missed.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's critical that the business owner has some systems on their side as well.
They do.
In terms of doing the bookkeeping and keeping on track.
Yeah, no, it is. Like for a business to what was it? I've had to do I've got a bit of a health check on one who's a landscaper at the moment, and he's had someone in, and she was all right with the job scheduling, but not with the zero data. So I'm actually in the process of cleaning that up because I have no idea what's going on. So I actually just told him, right, this is what we're doing. He said, but why? That's a waste of time, isn't it? It takes a lot of time. I said, for an unqualified person, maybe. I said, but for an awesome one, no. I said, for someone with knowledge base who knows what they're doing, I said, no, the cleanup is not, it doesn't take as long because we know, I said, have faith that we have our knowledge base. I said, you've got your knowledge base and so have we. So, that's what I've just learned. We have our knowledge base is like we're allowed to charge for that. Do you know? And when I've actually had clients say, well, someone actually said, well, I contacted someone and they were this price and they're in Yanchep. And I go, well, yeah, we'll go with them. And they go, well, I don't want to. I said, well, I'm not changing my price. So it's what I've learned is have faith in yourself and confidence in yourself that your knowledge base is chargeable.
Yeah, well, that's what people are getting is all that experience, years and years of experience. It's not an hour's worth of work. I mean, the client in our mentoring group who referred you to me and brought you to the mentoring group, he said, oh, Helen's hourly rate's a lot higher, but boy, she gets through things in a fraction of the time and gets them right. So in the end, it doesn't cost any more. It costs less probably.
That's totally it. Like someone goes, oh, geez, they look at the hourly rate instead of the knowledge base.
Yeah.
And like you just said, like I can get something done in quarter of the time. So therefore they're saving money, and they're being taught properly how to run their own business.
Yeah, that's the key thing. I mean, it's something I really appreciate that you do. It's educating the business owner so that they're less reliant on you, they're less reliant on a bookkeeper, and they now can see what's happening in the business. You know.
Well, that client, he does. He just needed to be shown correctly, and yeah, he fully understands it now and his figures, doesn't he?
Yeah. You know, I had a client years ago that I kept trying to get them to get there. I suspected something was going on with the bookkeeper, and I suspected something was wrong in the accounts. And I'm not an accountant. I don't have accounting qualifications, but I see enough financial reports to know when something looks a bit out of whack. And I said, get an external accountant in to audit your accounts. Oh, no. We've had the same accountant for 15 years and he's been doing the account. I said, yeah, but that's part of the problem. They're not seeing it with fresh eyes. And anyway, they didn't do that for about 6 months until an accountant they met at a function offered to do an audit for them for free. And when he did the audit, he basically recommended they get rid of the bookkeeper, and B, took them off wages and salaries because it put them over the threshold for payroll tax.
Oh.
So they'd been paying payroll tax for years because there was 3 partners in the business. If they'd been taking drawings, then they would not have gone over the threshold and they would have saved themselves all that tax. And that was just because of getting a fresh set of eyes to look at the figures.
Yeah.
You know, and, I come back to the point I was making, and that is that you educate the business owner so they know about these things and they can see for themselves what's happening in the accounts.
Totally. Like, you know, I've got some that, you know, we did put them on wages because, like, so at least they were part paying their wages. They trade through a trust, 3 different beneficiaries. So we put them on wages, but then, you know, the dollar went down on the construction industry, so we put them back on drawings. And like little tricky things like this that I know about, but I said, just go and speak to the accountant just to back that up because, like, I'm not fully qualified to do that. So, you know, just to back it up with the accountant. And they did, and they go, well, yeah, they said that was a good idea. And I go, well, there you go. Good. So little things like that when you can see that, you know, salary sacrificing. I keep an eye on that at the end of the year, so at least they don't go over the threshold, some of the employees, and little things like that, you know, because I've known wages have been finalised for the year, and then you go, oh, my goodness, why didn't you tell that employee they would have gone over the threshold because they have to pay extra tax on that.
Yeah.
And they go, oh, you know, and I go, well, that should be part of your payroll when your service, your offer, like, because you don't want the employees will come back to you and go, oh, well, hang on, why did I pay extra tax? Little things like that. So it's also the employees of the business that you sort of keep an eye on too. Make sure they're fully compliant and, yeah, they're like extra children at an extra next level. The employees of the clients, yes.
But one of the things that often a business owner will say to me is, well, you know, the P&L shows that I made 200 grand last year or 400 grand last year. I've got no money. How can the business have made 200 grand of profit and I've got nothing? Where's the money?
Yeah, but see, they don't, like, because it's on the balance sheet. So they could have loans. You know, there's funds in the bank. They've also taken drawings. You know, I think it's funny when I've just got business owners go, oh, when can I start taking a wage? This is a sole trader. And I'm going, well, you actually are, because you've got personal items going through your account. So that's your wage, love. Let's do it dedicated, you know, little things like that. But, yeah, the profit and loss, the net profit, it's the balance sheet. Like like there's bank accounts. There could be a bit of money sitting in the bank account. There's loans.
Is that something you train business owners on as well, understanding balance sheets?
Yeah, understanding the balance sheet, and I try and get it as correct as possible. I don't like to see rounding on the balance sheet, so I train them that don't do that because that annoys me. So get the figure right.
Yeah.
Rounding, like, it's just because they haven't done attention to detail when entering a bill or an invoice, or it's been underpaid. So just training them, if a full invoice hasn't been paid, you just allocate the amount it's been paid, and then we can add a credit. But just training them that way, on best practice, how to do it correctly. Show them the GST, because we want the GST to be showing correctly. If they've got ATO debt, I try and have that so it's the same as what's showing on the ATO. Because I put most of mine are on Xero cloud software. So on Xero, it's awesome. The dashboard shows a watch list. And on the watch list, I usually have all the liabilities accounts like the GST, PAYG, super, and I train them that whatever's on that right-hand side should be in that savings account. So therefore, you plan forward to pay all your liabilities.
Yeah.
And that, just putting it in that little way, simplifies it for them.
Yeah, so you're setting up a dashboard for them of the critical items.
And then they actually say, well, what about, how do I plan for tax at the end of the financial year? And I go, well, pull up a profit and loss report, your net profit, even 20%, put that aside into your little savings account. And it's like getting them, and I actually said, now, even you might see that money in there, but in your head, you have to train your head that it's not in there. You cannot touch it. So it's changing their mindset, and a lot of them are doing it. So during this pandemic, there's only the businesses, they've been okay because they've listened. They've actually listened. So they've actually been okay, my clients. And I was thinking I'd lose some, but they just won't go. So, so I think it's because I train them in the right way and allow them to do their records themselves. And when I check it, if I find errors or a different way to do it, I actually inform them. So the following quarter, when I'm checking it, it reduces my time because my time is money.
Yeah.
And and I need my time. My time's beneficial to me. I don't want to waste my time when I don't need to.
Sure. We're coming to the end in a moment. There's just a couple of things I want to mention while we're talking about balance sheets and getting the numbers right. Again, in relation to selling a business, it's having a good depreciation schedule with all the assets on there and having it up to date. It's so often when I look at a business for sale and I find their depreciation schedule and show it to the owner, and then they start crossing items off saying, oh no, we sold that 2 years ago. No, we don't have that anymore. Or, oh, and we've added this and we've added that. But the schedule's never been updated.
Really?
It's just critical to keep that up to date. That's one of the bugbears I have. And the other one is stock, not doing stock takes and keeping their stock accurate.
And see, this is what I'm trying to put in my my workflow as well, to send newsletters out regularly, and see, it'll probably be coming up for the end of this month for any business that has stock to do a stock take by a certain date. So I actually send clients checklists of what is required, and that helps them. So stock. But sometimes with stock, because that's an end of year item, So what I try and do when the end of year tax returns are completed, I actually journal from the client's records into Xero. So I do an end of year journal. So at least at the end of that financial year, the records should be aligned with the accountants. So the financials. With the depreciation, like all the assets are in there, and if an asset is sold, I leave that asset up there until the end of the year. So at least the accountant can see that that asset's still there, but it's sold. And then at the end of the financial year, when the records are completed, that's when I'll do a journal and I'll take that asset off.
Yeah, yeah.
So as a BAS agent, like bookkeeper, it's not, that might be over the mark because a lot of standard bookkeepers don't understand depreciation and what each item would be depreciated at, because there's different levels of depreciation.
Sure.
So, but yeah, all the assets should be there. The loans should be there for all of the assets if there is loans. Regularly I try and say, hang on, have you got this? Have you got that? That's on my little to-do.
Yeah, excellent.
Keep up to date. At the end of each quarter I say, is this true? The accounts payable, accounts receivable, have you still got all these assets? Because, sometimes you find out 3 months later even that they've got a new employee, for goodness sake, It's,
Yeah, keeping things up to date, there's no excuse these days. And the thing with stock as well is that, the accountant sometimes will manipulate stock values to save the owner tax and things like that. And again, we won't get onto accountants again, but they're providing a service to the business owner. But it's murder when it comes to selling the business. If, whoever's doing due diligence or even a smart buyer will look at what the stock level's been over a period of years, and they can see if things have been adjusted or rounded or whatever,
especially when the stock levels don't change.
Yeah.
So,
and the business has grown and stuff. So it all comes back to knowing your numbers and garbage in, garbage out.
It does.
So Helen, how can people contact you if they would like more information or would like some help? Or
they can contact me. Probably the best way would be email. So helen@bookbuster.com.au. I have a website up there, bookbuster.com.au. If you do go onto that, you will find that it's not the standard finance, accounting, bookkeeper webpage. I'm not into putting up pictures about laptops or pens or notebooks. I'm a little bit unique and different because I am who I am. I know what I'm doing. I know where I've want to go. The aim is to make sure small business owners or even big, large, it doesn't matter who I deal with, everyone is treated the same. It's like just train them on best practice on how to run their business efficiently with compliance. Basically.
I mean, one of the things I love about what you do is that you're more of a coach for the business owner on the financials than just being a bookkeeper. And so you always get a good rap from people that I refer you to. So
thanks for that. And I enjoy it. That's why it's good. Like there's a lot of different avenues to it and adds a bit of spice. Keeps me interested.
All right. I'm going to wrap up now. So thank you very much for that. Thanks for coming on today and sharing all these things with me and the listeners. And so just a reminder that if people want to contact you, it's helen@bookbuster.com.au. Or go to the website bookbuster.com.au. And for anyone who would like to learn more about getting their business ready for sale or get a business ready for sale assessment, then they can contact me at John with an H, John, @johndenton.com.au, or through the website johndenton.com.au. So that's pretty simple. So thank you, Helen, and thank you everyone for listening, and looking forward to the next episode of Business Ready for Sale. Bye for now.